Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids and adults, fantasy fans, sci-fi fans. We are two Dans, me, Dan Selcke, he, Daniel Roman. We are both the editors at winteriscoming.net, and we're here to talk about all things sci-fi, fantasy, movies, television on Take the Black, your weekly deep dive into all of those things that I just said. And today, as usual, we have uh, uh, a panoply of interesting items to hit. Daniel, are you excited to get into some of the multiferous things we'll be discussing?
That's so many things, a panoply, multiferous things. Yeah, I am actually extremely excited because there's some big stuff that just dropped today that we're going to talk about.
Always.
But I think we've got some stuff to get through before we get there. So what's on the docket, Dan? Where are we starting?
Okay,
And
well,
how are you doing? Are you excited for the stuff?
I'm glad you asked. The first thing on the docket is Andrew Haley. And by the way, hi, everybody. Hey, Margaret. Hey, Andrew. Hey, Nicole. Andrew asked, how's
Hello,
my
hello.
eye? Quick update. Um, I got a steroid shot
Skywatch.
yesterday at the doctor. Should be the last time. I think next week the stye will be completely gone. I think I'll have two normal eyes for the first time in months. I'm looking forward to it so much. This has been such a journey. I will never think of styes the same way again. I'll think of styes, period. I never knew what they were before. I'm looking forward to that. But in terms of what we have to talk about, let's start, as we often do, in Westeros, on the set of House of the Dragon, HBO's Game of Thrones prequel show that is filming season 2, even though writers are on strike, actors are on strike. Somehow they're soldiering on over in the good old UK. And what we're reading now is that most of the filming, the outdoor filming, is done, but they've really built out this giant set on, oh my, on the Leavesden Studios lot in England, which will be important actually later when you talk about how they're able to keep shooting even though the strike is there. They're shooting in England.
Yes.
We have this picture here of this gorgeous lot. You see the Red Keep on the right side there, where they filmed a lot of scenes in season 1. They built onto that a bit. The new stuff is most of the stuff on the left side, the kind of white walls and just the general not red buildings. That's the one on the right, obviously the Red Keep. They do a ton of stuff in the Red Keep. You can actually see the Godswood tree where Alicent and Rhaenyra hang out over on the far right there in the little courtyard where Kristen almost killed himself, where a lot of fun stuff happened. The left stuff is pretty much new. So we've seen some, it could be the streets of King's Landing. It could be other cities. It looks like King's Landing to me. It could be castle courtyards. Always fun to see what they're doing. And it just shows that they're really gearing up for, I don't know, new scenes. Like we saw some outdoor stuff, like Alicent and Helena riding through the streets of King's Landing in like a physical city. Perhaps they're picking things up on a set. Cool to see. We also have a picture of just, just for you from the other side, just so you can see the beautiful images that brave soldiers on the front lines of spoilers are putting their lives in the lines to bring us. Daniel, do you like these kind of sneaky peeks behind the scenes of a popular show?
I do, and I mean, I appreciate that they exist. I'm usually not one to be like, yes, let me look at the leaked set photos, like just for my own personal preference. But it is cool to see, on a show we're following this closely, like House of the Dragon, just new sets that they're putting up. Looking at that first one, I do agree with you. I think maybe that's some like streets of King's Landing or something. But it's early to tell. So yes, I like them, but I'm with leaks themselves, I'm usually not chomping at the bit. How about you?
I think it's cool. I mean, it's not like this is a leaked photo of, Alicent stabbing Rhaenyra in the neck or anything like big and spoilery. That doesn't happen, by the way. It's a city. Although some folks have speculated that because they're building out King's Landing so thoroughly, that the season might end with Rhaenyra taking King's Landing, which she does in the books eventually.
Yep.
8 episodes seems quick to get to that. Maybe like the final episode, like the final part of it, or perhaps their ability for other things, or to keep it around for future seasons, because you can always use a King's Landing set on a show set primarily in King's Landing. Martha asks, where is Leavesden Studios? I don't believe it's in Wales. It is in Watford. Does that mean anything to anybody? It's in Watford, England. I don't know where Watford is, but I don't believe it's in Wales. Should be looking this stuff up. It's not in Wales. We're not in Wales.
Yeah.
We're in England.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see these sets going up. I don't know. So you brought this up, Dan, that House of the Dragon is still filming.
Yes, I did.
Do you have any feelings about that? We'll explain how they're able to do that. Before you answer, Rhaenyra taking King's Landing. I knew there was something I was forgetting. I've always thought they might end season 2 that way. I agree with you that 8 episodes is short, but I think it would make sense. So we'll see what happens. But so, like Strike, how are you feeling?
I mean, okay, so right now Hollywood has basically shut down. It's a very interesting time. Like there hasn't been an actor's strike and a writer's strike at the same time since 1960, I think, when a young upstart named Ronald Reagan led the union and then spun that off into a notable political career. It's interesting times. No one really has been here who was working back then, so they're all navigating different ways. Many shows have shut down, like The Sandman shut down filming, Interview with the Vampire shut down filming. I'm sure most shows shut down filming. There have been a couple of shows that are still continuing. Like it made sense when the writer's strike happened and House of the Dragon still filmed, because I'm like, okay, they have all the scripts written. Technically, if the writers have done the work, you can still film. And we talked about, like, you want writers on set, but like you can, it's doable. Without actors, you figure like, well, that's it, right? Game over. Like you're not filming scenes where Rhaenyra and Alicent chat if you don't have Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook there. You just can't do it. But so how is it possible, Daniel? I think you're this. How is it even possible for House of the Dragon or any show like Dune: The Sisterhood is filming too, another HBO Max show, when actors are on strike? How?
Yes. Yeah, so the way that this shakes out is basically that some of these productions, so the United States, the Actors Guild here is called SAG-AFTRA. SAG-AFTRA is on strike. So any US-based productions or productions that primarily employ SAG-AFTRA members, they're not allowed to work. Even if they want to, they're not allowed to right now because that's the way a strike works. However, the UK has its own entertainment professional guild called Equity, which represents actors, artists, basically professional entertainment people. And Equity, they are not allowed to strike in solidarity. So they have said they support SAG-AFTRA, but basically the UK has very strict anti-union, like anti-strike laws. So if you strike in the UK, you can be sued directly or fired. So basically, actors, if they went on strike for something like House of the Dragon, they would be opening themselves up to be able to be sued direct, like as a person, by HBO unless they fulfilled their contractual obligations. So that's how shows like House of the Dragon and Dune: The Sisterhood are able to film. Even though Dune is not filming in the UK, it has a contract with Equity, the UK union, because it employs a lot of people who are represented by it. And it's the same deal for House of the Dragon. So even if some of those actors are also in SAG-AFTRA, since they're in Equity, they are not allowed to strike. So that's the gist. So House of the Dragon, not only is it still filming, they would probably get in trouble if they stopped, which is kind of nuts.
I don't know if you know the answers to this, but I have some follow-up questions. I'm a little unsure on this myself.
Yeah.
So first of all, I just want to note that equity is different than actors equity, which is a different union,
Correct.
which represents theatrical actors in the US. That's confusing. That's on the English. I'm just saying that.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, so are you saying that actors who are in equity, the British acting union, performing arts union, they are not allowed to strike in solidarity? Could they strike separately? Like if they decided that they had problems with the BBC or the studios or whatever group is representing the studios over in Britain, and they wanted to strike themselves, or they just can't strike in solidarity with another international other union?
So, preface this by saying I'm not an expert in UK labor laws.
No, why not?
But my understanding is that they cannot strike, period. So it's not even, I know I said in solidarity, but it's not even that. It's if you strike in general, this is the potential repercussion for you. You have no, the way it works in the US is there are protections. There are like codified protections. So if you strike, you cannot be penalized for striking. The UK doesn't have that. So it's not even equity specific. It's like UK labor laws would prevent this kind of strike. So yeah, not even an in solidarity thing. I don't think equity could even strike if they wanted to without potentially serious repercussions. And given how the studios have acted throughout the strike so far, it seems like those repercussions are, that is a very real possibility that if people went on strike, they might have problems. It seems like they're really pulling out all the stops. I don't know if you saw this, but Universal is having a labor grievance filed against them right now because they've been like ripping up the sidewalks outside the studio. They cut the tops of the trees off so the strikers wouldn't have shade. And apparently those are like cool. LA town managed trees. So now they're in trouble for doing stuff like this. But yeah, so that's the gist with House of the Dragon. That's how it's allowed to keep going. We're still waiting to hear on some other shows like Wheel of Time. Like Wheel of Time might fall into this category too. And they were supposed to be filming their third season, but we haven't heard anything yet. So yeah, that's the general gist.
That's so weird.
Do you have any other questions?
Passive aggressive much? No, it's just so weird to me. It sounds like England doesn't have like a labor movement at all then, if striking results in lawsuits, which would basically kill any attempt at unionization, even though they have a whole party called the Labour Party. Like it doesn't really match up. Get with it, England. As Nicole says, so basically next year we will only have shows filmed in other countries with non-American actors to watch. Sounds like a weird loophole to me. I actually wondered, and again, this is two non-labor law experts speculating about what labor laws mean for actors and writers all over the world. It hit me like, is that why there are so many British actors in American movies? Probably not, but all I'm saying is that Robert Pattinson plays Batman and he's British. Tom Holland plays Spider-Man and he's British. Henry Cavill plays Superman and he's British. They stole all our superheroes. They're all British people. Why? They're all American superheroes. I think, Chris Hemsworth is our Thor. He's like Australian or something. Is that why there are so many Brits in American movies and TV? Probably not, but that thought
probably not.
Me.
Yeah,
can't hurt.
I think can't hurt, but Hollywood is Hollywood, and it's still the largest film industry in the world, I believe, by I'm sure a significant margin. But yeah, I don't know. The UK generally has a pretty good film industry and has good practices for how it brings people up into it. It functions much more like a business, like an industry than in the US, where there is a lot. It's much more predatory in the US than the way the UK trains theatrical workers. But yeah, the labor stuff, I mean, not speaking on this with any huge expertise, but I think historically the UK has had some stuff with labor movements. So yeah, it seems like they just do not have great protections for that, which is too bad. Nicole's point of will we get a bunch of shows filmed in foreign places? I'm sure studios are banking on that, to be honest. Because
Well,
shows like Silo for Apple TV Plus, that's another one that may still be filming. We're not positive, but it films in the UK and has a contract with Equity, so the jury is like very much out on whether that's still filming season 2. Um, so yeah, it is interesting times. Like Dan said, this is the first time this sort of strike has happened since 1960. And when
mhm.
it happened in 1960, that's what established the way that actors and writers were paid residuals, which is basically their cut of ad revenue for reruns and stuff like that. It's what set up that system for them, which has lasted, 63 years or however long. That all came about because of the 1960 strike. So there's a very good chance we're going to see some actual change from this. But, jury's out until the fat lady sings.
Yeah, so some actual change or the decimation of the profession. Also,
Yes, basically.
I have three things to say in quick succession. First,
Yeah.
the 1960 strike not only established the way TV movies work, it gave us Ronald Reagan, a public figure capable of becoming president. And then
True.
the 2007 strike gave us Donald Trump. I just want to run this by because it led to The Apprentice, and then he ran 2016 to get popular again for TV, and then he accidentally won. So it's him. So this strike will give us the next president in some kind of way. We haven't know yet. We don't know what yet. Like President Fran Drescher. I don't know.
One can hope.
Second, I want to say, Andrew, cool. That is a great deal. He got the entirety of Game of Thrones on Prime Day for $60,
Nice.
down from $240. Not bad at all.
That's
that
a
was very
crazy
smart.
deal.
And third, I just want to say, England, land of contrasts. Like they have universal health care, but they don't have any labor protections. They have incredibly strong like libel and slander laws, but they have like the most muckraking media imaginable, way worse than ours. And they have voting, but also a king. So just like what a charming country.
Yeah. Yep. They're getting the best of both worlds in there, which I guess works great unless you want to go on strike, and then it's terrible. But yeah, so there are a lot of issues on the table. One I just want to highlight for this, which is a big one during the strike that we're, seeing be talked about in a lot of different creative industries.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean Astin did a brief interview from the picket line. Samwise Gamgee, Lord of the Rings. When a member of the Fellowship speaks, we listen. And he basically talked about AI and how that is a major issue at the moment. And he basically said, I'm going to read what he said. He said, we're proud of it, as in their AI proposal that the actors proposed to studios. Our AI proposal that we sent over was a product of great effort on behalf of experts that are volunteers, are members of SAG-AFTRA. We all are struggling to figure out how we're going to deal with this new technology, and we pushed our deal across in good faith, and the studios came back with bupkis. They did not want to seriously talk about the fact that AI-generated characters or performances can displace actors and STEM people and background. So it's interesting to me to see like the media war for how, different outlets are framing who the good guy and bad guy is during this strike. Meanwhile, we have Sean Astin saying they wouldn't even look at it. So that's, they wouldn't even discuss it with us, this idea of AI. So
yeah. I don't think anyone knows what they're going to do about AI yet. I feel like the people who are behind all the AI push don't know what they're going to do with AI yet exactly. Like OpenAI and those people. It's just so new.
Yeah.
And I do feel like folks have kind of been brushed up against the limits recently. Like everyone was kind of freaking out a few months ago and it became massively available. And then the hype kind of died down to the point where like it's mostly now used by middle schoolers to cheat on their homework. but who knows where that will
And
go from
studios,
here.
apparently.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
but no studio has like made an AI script or an AI actor yet. Although I figure it's a matter of
well,
time, but no one's that to my knowledge tried. Why has someone done it?
Well, yeah, so here's the thing with how they're trying to use this. So 87% of the
Probably.
members of SAG-AFTRA make less than $26,000 a year, which
Yeah, I
is what
saw
you
that.
need
That was
to
rough.
qualify for health insurance. So like 87% of their membership does not qualify for health insurance. A large amount
Ooh.
of them are background actors. So think like professional extras. And basically, what studios were proposing is that an extra, a background worker, can come in, get scanned, and be paid for one day. And then studios can use that likeness forever in any project they want without compensation or asking the person if it's okay. Now, that is kind of dystopian enough that that
It
was the
does sound kind
proposal
of
on the table that the actors are pushing back against. But since this news broke, it has come out that some studios have already been doing
true.
that for years at this point.
Hmm.
So it's not like AI generated movies, but think about like crowds being multiplied with extra people digitally. The way they do that is scanning people's bodies and then multiplying them into crowd scenes. At least in some movies, that's how they do it.
Hmm.
And yeah, we're basically finding out that some studios have already been doing it, and now they're trying to codify it so all of them can do it. Because AI is bringing so much more attention to this type of technology. So yeah, it is a pressing issue right now. It makes sense that they're all trying to tackle it, and I do agree with you that I think the studios and big businesses are trying to leave the door open for it,
Oh
for
yeah.
them to take advantage of it, but they don't necessarily have a plan for how it's going to reshape their business or whatever.
And I guess there's like things that, at least in my head, don't feel like crossing a line too much. Like when it comes to like background actors, like I remember The Lord of the Rings 2001, them talking about like using software to create
Yes.
big crowds of people, like Peter Jackson. Like that kind of
Hmm.
like, that
That
there have been
revolutionized it.
there have been fake crowds for decades. Um, so that's probably
Hmm.
so that's more like a creeping thing. And definitely, if at the minimum, I think if you use somebody's likeness, you should pay them. Um, but there's
Yeah.
probably a middle ground there. I guess where folks are going to be more uh, weirded out is going to be like, here's a script written by an AI, or here is a show where it's a completely AI generated, I don't know, just image. Like, but then what's computer
Hmm.
animation then? Like, it's not
Yeah.
that far off. You know what? Like the industry probably was using some AI type stuff for a while. It's just
Yeah.
now it's kind of in the public discourse, and we're realizing like where reality met behind the scenes stuff. We didn't really realize what's happening before. So it's all a
Yeah.
big kerfluffle fluff. Um, and as to Nicole's great question about do we think if strike continues for a long time, the studios will rely on AI generated content even more? I hope they don't go full Black Mirror. I don't think technology is quite far enough along to go full Black Mirror yet. But I I I have to imagine someone will try just like fully AI script at some point to see what happened. But even that's going to require a writer like to
Oh,
to
yeah.
start. So maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I really don't. Nobody does. That's the problem.
That's the
So I
yeah.
I hope they can just say, I don't know, if you scan a background actor, pay them like a writer has to be paid for a script. It can't be like paid less to come in and edit an AI thing, which I don't think would even work. Because look, I've used ChatGPT quite a bit to like write these like prompts, like these fun kind of prompts for post. What if this and this? Write a thing about this. It definitely has limits, people. It's not like it can just do
Yeah.
anything the same way anybody else can. So I, I'm not sure it's ready for prime time yet, but the strike will be the proving ground.
Yeah. So I think, the important thing to drive home, I think, with this AI tech is not necessarily the problem. in this
Sure.
instance. It's not the technology, it's companies trying to use it to, like you said, pay people less, pay writers to come in and edit an AI script, which is definitely something that has been floated out. The issue with the crowd scenes, with generating people's likenesses, it's not even using it to do crowd scenes like Lord of the Rings, like you mentioned. The problem isn't using their likeness, it's having its studios retaining the right to use that likeness in any film in perpetuity,
that's the evil part.
forever, based on them signing a thing on one day. Good thing I got that $100 that one day on set, and now the studios can use me in movies for the next 100 years, which sounds cooler than it really is. If acting is your livelihood, and you should have a say in how they do that. I don't know if you saw this, but it actually came out that Hachette Audio, which is one of the big publishers in the US, they're doing an all AI poetry book. They just announced this like yesterday, and it's exactly what you said, where it's basically like 2 or 3 tech bros who had this idea to do an AI poetry book. So they spent like a year feeding prompts into this AI and editing it. So they're pitching it as this is AI's story, but really it's these people who edited the hell out of it for like a year straight. It's just such a like the fear around it, I feel like, is in the wrong place a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of just like you said. I don't think it's replacing people. I think some companies might like it if it would, because it's a trend right now and a lot of people are really interested in it, and it could make them money and it could save them money in the short term. I don't think it would in the long term.
I agree completely. Yeah, I agree. It's not going to replace people, but corporations are going to want to seize on this to pay people less, and I don't think they should be able to.
Yes.
As for Nicole's question, it's another great question. We don't have time to answer it because we do have other things to get to, but Nicole, you are asking to the heart of the question. How do they calculate residuals when shows are constantly streaming on so many different platforms? Well, that is what we're upset about. Or, well, not us.
That's
writers and actors in the unions. Again, they're not 100% sure, so they have to figure that out, and that's part of the reason there are strikes. God, it's going to get weird.
Absolutely.
And as Andrew points out, they did use AI for the Secret Invasion opening credits, which, if they want to judge how successful a show is based on that, maybe they won't use it anymore because no one's watching that show. But okay, we should move on because we do have other things to talk about.
We should.
I actually don't mind the credits. I think the credits are kind of eerie. Okay, I kind of like those credits.
They look like garbage.
They look kind of uncanny and weird, which is kind of what they're going for. The show doesn't really live up to it, if anything, in my opinion. But different talk. Let's move on. Let's talk about. I kind of like the credits. Talk about The Wheel of Time. It's a show coming up, already written, already filmed, already edited, coming out in early September, I think. And they have a new trailer. Why don't we put it on and give it a little watch for season 2 of The Wheel of Time from Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah, very exciting. Very exciting that there's a trailer. We're really looking forward to this. Where I am. I won't speak for you, Dan, but I assume you're looking forward to it too.
I am looking forward to it. Yeah, I like the show when it came on. Moraine is so sad. So sad.
She's very sad.
Randolph Thor just looking like he's, I don't know. This show is based on Robert Jordan's books. Was a cool first season, sort of pandemic affected. Go ahead.
Let's pause on this. Pause on those people with the light on their arms that we just saw. Yeah, there's a ton of crazy stuff in this trailer. So like Dan was saying, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no.
So The Wheel of Time, based on the book series by Robert Jordan. This second season is adapting a lot of the book The Great Hunt, which is the second one. And one thing we're going to see a lot this season is this other culture called the Shanchan, who came from across the sea. We saw them at the very end of season 1. And they have a pretty major role to play in things. So this shot right here, these are two domain, which are basically Shan
Domani.
Chan. So in the Wheel of Time, there are women who channel using the one power. So basically sorceresses. And the Aes Sedai, like they're revered in the world we've been introduced to, but in
Yes.
Shan Chan culture, they are enslaved as
No.
children. So yeah, so these are some enslaved domain. You can just kind of see they have like neck pieces. That's what makes the enslaving possible. It's a magical collar, basically. What's up, Dan?
I just want to say that I've been listening to the first 4 Wheel of Time books on tape, and they have pronounced it Domani every single time. So
Thank you.
that's what's in my head.
That's
I
probably, I'm sure
am
that's
going
right.
to assume it. Domani.
Yes.
Domain.
How is it? Yeah, I'm sure you're right. I believe who is it? Michael Kramer and Kate Redding. Uh but yeah, so do you want to talk about these guys? Do you want to
No,
continue?
rock on. Ooh. Yeah, I enjoyed the first season. I thought it went over well. And I think the trailer looks really good. I think it looks expensive. I think it looks
Yeah,
lavish. Look at the landscapes, look at the horses. And now that a
gorgeous.
show has pause on that, pause on the dude and the lady. Randall
The
Thor
dude
looking
and the
like
lady.
Randall Thor,
What a
Joshua
stud.
Stradowski. Kinda, yeah. He's looking like straight out of college basketball draft guy. And then is the lady Lanfear, the Forsaken? Is that her?
I believe that's Natasha O'Keefe, who, yes, we got some confirmation a while back that that is the actor playing Lanfear. So yes, is the answer to that. We don't know how the show's going to handle it. In the book, Lanfear does go by an alias, I think, for part of the second book, Celine. So
Oh
no idea how
yeah.
they're gonna. They we'll see how they tackle that. But yeah, that's the actor. So here we have Lanfear and Rand looking real comfortable. And of course, Lanfear is one of the Forsaken, who is
Big bad,
they
bad,
were
nasty
like
people.
these big bad nasty. Yeah, they were like the sorcerers and sorceresses who were aligned and sworn to the Dark One during the previous conflict. They're very, very old and have somehow survived. Somehow the Forsaken have returned.
Yeah, hit it. Somehow the Forsaken returned. He's an important character. I hope they do her justice. This little cue ball
Same.
head. Yeah, it kind of works for him. We got Moraine losing her powers. We
Yeah.
got Swan Sanche sitting on the throne. I
Juan.
agree with Nicole. The costumes
Yeah.
look very good. The whole show looks
do.
good. Like this looks better to me than the first season did. And the first season looked pretty decent, but I
It
feel like they've
does.
upped their game here. Like the costumes, the settings, everything looks pretty lavish. Come on, I love that.
Yeah.
Pa- Pause on that. Pause on the weirdos on the throne, looking like the final boss of 300. Is this the Sanchen? Is
Yeah.
this the weird?
Xerxes.
It totally does. That's what it's giving me.
It does.
Um,
The Xerxes vibes are real from this shot. Yeah, so some of these characters are Shan Chan. One is interesting. The middle one, I believe we got confirmation on Twitter a few days ago, is Lady
yeah.
Suroth, who is one of the main Shan Chan that we'll be seeing this season. I do not know who the character on the left is. I just some other Shan Chan.
I like
who
her
is
mask.
presumably, it's a cool mask. The character on the right, so this is it's hard to talk about him because Amazon can't decide what is a spoiler and what's not. So that character, we saw him last season. He's played by Fares. He is they labeled him as the man, or Baalzamon, the Dark One. I guess I don't know if this is a spoiler. He's another.
Go for
So
it.
if you are really shying, but I don't think it is. So who is one of the main Forsaken. So he's there hanging out with them, and that's interesting to see him in a shot with the Shan Chan like this, because the Shan Chan are not just like under the Dark One's influence, they have their own goals. And I don't really remember him hanging out with them too much in the book.
Right.
Could just be that I don't remember, but that's interesting to me to see him there.
I do love the production design. I love just how it's it's clearly a
Yes.
fantasy story, but it looks different enough from like a Game of Thrones or a medieval thing to stand out. Some interesting architecture, interesting outfits, interesting aesthetic. I enjoy that. Let's see what else has in store. Keep it going. Shan Mask. Those are Halloween stuff. Ideas popping off right now. And it's out September 2nd, is it? Gotta love channeling.
September 1st.
September 1st.
Yep.
You know, magic
Egwene,
by another name.
Egwene and a Shan.
Yeah. Saw Moiraine and Sanche making it.
Yeah, can we back up to Moiraine and Swan Sanche kissing? Gotta shout that scene out. Pretty sure that's gonna be a flashback.
Oh,
because
fun.
Swan is wearing blue in this. So Swan is the Amyrlin Seat, which is the ruler of the Aes Sedai, the Aes Sedai leader. So she has to wear white typically, with it's a stole that has all the colors, I believe, behind her. So Swan, for her office, has a very specific outfit, but before she was the Amyrlin Seat, she was a member of the Blue Aja. Here we see her and Moiraine both wearing blue, and we did see them kind of have a little bit of a love affair in New Spring, which is the prequel novel, which is set when they're both coming up. Their love story is canon from the books. You don't really see it a lot because that's a canon thing they brought in for the show. Robert Jordan, he didn't write it very explicitly because that's just not what he did. He didn't really write
the 90s
romance. Yeah. It was the 90s, and this was a gay couple, and I think he had a coded language for it, like they were pillow friends, I think is what he called them. But they had a romance, so we're gonna hopefully see that a little bit. So just needed to shout out the flashback because that's pretty exciting.
Cool. Yeah, that's fun. I love flashbacks. All right, rock on. Also good earrings. I just like the way this show looks, and I think it looks better than it did in season 1, which I'm here for.
Yeah, I agree. They
spend the money.
We got a glimpse of an Avienda, the Aiel, there a second ago too.
Cool. Wait, go back to that big city. Do you know what that is, Daniel? Because I don't. That's fine. Keep going. Who cares? Ooh, that was Nynaeve kind of bursting out of the gate. I recall that from the book. Forget it. It's fine. This is like a long trailer. Just keep it up. Avienda work.
Okay.
I like this of Nynaeve falling out. That one, I recall that from the book. We got Rand shirtless tied to a thing. Sure, fanfic writers, do your worst. And in a hood. It just looks exciting. I enjoy it. Oh, the costumes are really good. And of course, we have Donald Nye replacing Barney Harris as Matt Coffin.
Donal Finn. Yeah, replacing Barney Harris. Very curious to see what he does with the part. I'm a little surprised we didn't see more of him in this trailer. Feels like he got short shrift a little bit compared to some of the other leads. But yeah, you mentioned Nynaeve stumbling out of that arch. Presumably that's going to be her accepted trial, which is a big scene from the book. That's when you're an Aes Sedai. It's a novice is their lowest rank. You wear white for that. When you rise to accepted, you have to go through this trial where you go through those arches and you see visions. So presumably that's what that is. But
nicely done.
So Dan, you've talked a lot about the look of this season, which I agree with you. It does, I think, looks better, looks more polished than the first season. What are you most excited to see in season 2?
I'm excited to be surprised because I enjoyed season 1. The Wheel of Time book series, I'm still making my way through. I appreciate it more than I love it. I can appreciate the imagination and the craft and the kind of the sprawl. This is a good opportunity, I think, to turn it to kind of weed out some of the kind of more fillery or just odd or maybe of their time bits and make it a story for today, which I think the first season did. I loved the episode
I agree.
between that was set in the White Tower between the names between Moiraine and Swan Sanche. The first I thought was really, really good. I really liked it. And I'd like
Same.
more of
That was my favorite.
It was my favorite too. Just like that kind of exploring characters and taking this wonderful foundation that Robert Jordan set up and all this wonderful money that Jeff Bezos has and combining them with some kind of a new interpretation to give a really great show. I'm just going to enjoy it. And Nicole needs a recap. We'd be happy to supply that on WiC. That's a good idea. We'll do that. The cue ball head is a powerful magic wielder man, and he's the chosen one, but he would rather not be. And everyone's looking for him is the gist.
Yeah. Well, so everyone's looking for him right now. At the beginning of this season, everyone thinks he's dead. So that was kind of the big lie that last season ended on. Rand and Moiraine went and did this thing by themselves. They faced off with that guy who we mentioned, who his name is Ishamael. It's Amazon's so funny. In one of their previous trailers, I noticed they doctored a line in today's trailer. So in the previous trailer, there's a line from Moiraine where she says, "We didn't defeat the Dark One. We set his strongest lieutenant free." Is the line in the old version of the trailer. And the new one, it says, "We didn't defeat the Dark One. We set him free." So they're trying to be intentionally ambiguous about who Ishamael is. But basically, after that showdown, Moiraine no longer has powers. We don't know if it's permanent. We don't know if she's just shielded. She can't channel anymore as of the end of season 1, which is a huge book departure that I'm kind of nervous about, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really hate that as a trend of, these fantasy shows having a powerful woman sorceress and not knowing what to do with her, so they take away her powers. The Witcher did it too. Rand told Moiraine to tell all his friends he had died. So he's like living in hiding at the start of this, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm curious and I'm excited. September 1st, let's hit it. Let's move it along, Dan.
Yeah.
Let's because we're coming up on 45 minutes here. We've been John for 3/4 of an hour. Are you watching or reading anything else? And can you summarize it in like reasonably quickly?
Yeah, what have I been watching or reading? I've been trying to watch Secret Invasion, and man, I just can't. I've fallen asleep twice trying to watch that show, which never happens for me. Like, I do not really fall asleep watching TV usually. I just can't care about it no matter how hard I try. Beyond that, I finished reading this book, Theragrave, by Essa Hansen, which was the third book in her Graven trilogy. Really fantastic, like space opera. It was super epic. I loved the third book. And now I'm reading a book called The Sun and the Void, which is like epic fantasy inspired by South American folklore.
Very cool.
So that is also very cool. But I'm just into it, so jury's out. How about you, Dan? What have you been getting into?
Nothing new. Warrior's still great, so watching that. Righteous Gemstones, still enjoying that. We're watching Better Call Saul. I'm gonna see Oppenheimer this weekend, I think. And I want to see Barbie too, but probably I'm not sure I'll do it both in one weekend. Are you on the Barbieheimer train at all?
Yeah, I really want to get on the Barbenheimer train. I'm a little sad that my drive-in here. So we have a drive-in movie theater, which I use a lot. And I don't know why they don't have the Barbenheimer playing as a double feature, because they only do double features. So I'm a little mad that I can't go see Barbenheimer there. But yeah, I want to see them both. I want to see Barbie more than Oppenheimer, if I'm being honest.
Sure.
So I'll probably see that one first.
Oppenheimer first. I want to see that one a little more. And then I want to see Barbie too, but probably next weekend, if I'm being realistic. Thank God for those two things. Is anyone else seeing these things? And as Nicole says, Outlander is also good this season. That's true. Outlander has definitely been stepping things up a bit. I still wish, part of me just wants them to just meet George Washington and like ride into battle with him. And just, I don't like the way that it continually teases the Revolutionary War. But if you're going to do it, just put him at Ticonderoga, like something. I don't know. I guess they literally did do that. But I have heard that
I think
that it's more snappy this season, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm glad this season's doing well. I know last season was a little weird, and they did meet George Washington once, but it was like in passing. It was like oh, do you know who you just talked to? That was George Washington.
Cross the Delaware with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled him back in again, but I hear what you're saying. They do a lot of like towing around the big historical figures. They'll see them in the distance, or they'll say hi to them in passing, but they don't typically put them front and center in the story for whatever reason.
I'm glad though that it's
I keep meaning to watch Outlander at some point.
People love it. All right. And as Andrew says, My Prince Superman, which I will get around to watching. I like that kind of stuff.
Nice.
That's just like a nice half-hour show that I can take in when I'm like folding laundry.
Yeah.
I love those kind of things. And yeah,
that's been Star
JP,
Wars Rebels for me.
Totally. I can see it. And as JP excited for Oppenheimer, it does have really good reviews. So you're more into Barbie than Oppenheimer, huh? Yeah, they're both interesting. They both look good, which like the movie industry must be thanking God for, because they've had some whiffs this summer.
Yes.
Like the Flash bombed. Elemental was a bit of a no-go, or at least not enough of a go. Even The Little Mermaid wasn't as like big as you'd think for a Disney remake. So the fact that there's a lot of buzz around Barbie and Oppenheimer is good news for Hollywood at a time when they could use some good news.
Yeah, it's definitely good news. I think so. Part of it is just like World War II history is not really my fave. It's not something I'm like, ooh, yes, I need to watch that typically. Like I love Christopher Nolan, but I love him conditionally. I'm not one of those people where it's like I'm gonna watch every single thing he's made. I've watched most of them, but my favorites are things like Interstellar, but that's sci-fi, so that's already in my wheelhouse more than something like Oppenheimer. Barbie just looks like everyone involved in that had such a blast, and they're so committed to the gag. Margot Robbie showing up to all these events dressed as various Barbies, and like, making there be a pink day on set where everyone had to dress in pink and stuff like that. Like, it sounds fun. I'm intrigued. I am more intrigued by that. I don't know why. I would never have predicted that this would happen, but I'm happy for you that you're going to Oppenheimer first.
Someone tells me to wear pink at work, I'm wearing brown. Like, screw you. Who are you to tell me to wear a color to wear? Good Lord. That sounds fascist to me. So that's my opinion on Pink Day. But it does look like a fun movie. I did like the trailer when they're all kind of dancing part, and she's like, "You guys ever think about dying?" I'm like, "Okay, that's interesting. I'll watch that."
Yeah,
and
if
I
you
want
had
to watch
told me
Severance
a year ago,
too.
I'd be excited to see the Barbie movie. I would have told you you were a liar.
No, I mean, Greta Gerwig is a great director. I'm looking forward to it. And as JP said, rewatch Severance. Also on my list. Nice. I'm going to get through Better Call Saul, and then I think Severance. We can do that then. But so much to watch, so little time.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel.
It's true.
So Nicole says that she found it odd that Barbie is PG-13, and the New York Post trashed it today. The New York Post has a perspective on a lot of events, issues, and topics. And I wonder, not having read the full review, I read part of the Post review in a little article I wrote, if that had something to do with why they didn't like it, and that's all I'll say. Anyway, Daniel, shall we do the WiC News Lightning Round, where we go through news stories we could fit into the main body of the show and give our 20-second opinions on each?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, sure. All right. As usual, blah, 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 no order, blah, blah, blah. I will just go ahead and ask you first. Daniel.
Okay.
Ahead of New
Yes.
York, sorry, ahead of San Diego Comic-Con, which like no one's going to be because all the actors are on strike and the writers. Disney released a sort of key art poster thing for their show based on Percy Jackson and the Olympians, a Harry Potter like novel series that came out in the 2000s. Pretty?
Yeah. I'm excited to see what they do with Percy Jackson. I think that's a great fit for Disney. The timing is funny because they released this poster literally like the day after the strike was called. So kind of funny to see how they're navigating some of their PR stuff to try to still drum hype. But I hope it's good. And I like the poster.
It's nice.
So speaking of Disney CEO Bob Iger admitted that too many Marvel TV shows have, quote, diluted the audience's attention for the MCU.
You think? Yeah, they have shot themselves in the foot. Secret Invasion is on right now. It's a big Marvel show with Samuel Jackson in the lead role, and like no one's talking about it. And it's I'm watching it. Yeah. It's fine, but it's not like electrifying or anything. They've done this to themselves. They've overexposed it. There's just too much.
Yeah.
And they spent $200 million on that thing. There's no way they're making that back. They have to cut back. Insane. They have to cut back. What did they spend it on? Okay, a fun little topic. Daniel, there's a Witcher cookbook on the way from authors Anita Sarna and Carolina Krupeka.
Yeah, so this is fun. I believe those two authors Dan mentioned run a Witcher cooking blog, and they are doing an official cookbook. So this is in license with CD Projekt Red that does the games. So recipes from the games and books, not from the TV show. But it has Andrzej Sapkowski's blessing. He wrote the foreword for this thing. So I'm going to get it. I want to cook up some witchery food.
Nice.
So we were talking about Marvel a second ago. It seems their solution to too much TV is more TV. They are airing Miss Marvel on ABC this August. So if you missed it on Disney Plus, it'll be on ABC. What are your thoughts?
I thought this was interesting because the whole point for a while was make as much content for streaming services as possible. So Disney Plus is loaded on up, but that's not really making them money.
Yeah.
The way that, so now they're going to license out a streaming show to normal TV. I wonder if the streaming model is going to break down a bit. And this is all very like tied up with the issues of the strike. Like, and what Nicole asked earlier, how do you pay residuals on streaming services? Maybe you go back to TV. I don't know. Something's got to give. And I think we're seeing some give.
Yeah, man, isn't that irony? If they pay residuals off of TV, but they didn't pay residuals to these people off of streaming, that'd be a funny side effect of that.
There's a lot of irony up in here these days. Yeah. Oh God, I forgot about Echo. Oh God, just completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
All right, another fun one for you. You got all the fun ones today. Daniel, the upcoming Star Wars show, talk about overexposed. Star Wars: The Acolyte will feature the first ever live-action Wookiee Jedi.
Yeah, it's about time. We've been waiting for this moment. I love Wookiees. I am 100% all about this. This is the best news of the day. Sorry, Wheel of Time. You're not better than a Wookiee Jedi.
Okay. Strong words from an opinionated man.
Boom. Yep. I stand by it. All right.
Hit me up.
Wow. I guess I really, really put the buzzer to shame. I didn't even get an honorary buzz to let me know it was
says
over.
It all.
Woo. So I don't know what. Maybe you can explain this because it just makes my head hurt and it makes me disillusioned with the world. The Flash movie is being released as an NFT.
Yeah, it is available now as an NFT. So 20 seconds. NFTs were a tech fad that pretty much have passed, where a digital good that you can replicate in every meaningful way isn't replicatable because it has a mark on it. So you can buy like this individual instance of the Flash movie, even though you can just download it or get a DVD like normal and it'd be fine. But you can, if you want some extra money, you can do it on an NFT. It's weird, and it's one of those things that was clearly like they made the deal when NFTs were still a thing, and now it's just coming out now,
Yeah.
even though their time has passed. Whatever, it's done. It's weird. And finally, Daniel, I this is also a not so fun one, but interesting. James Cameron, director of Titanic and Avatar, has confirmed that he is not making a movie about the OceanGate Titanic sub disaster that everyone was talking about for like 3 weeks straight the other month.
Yeah, so James Cameron, in addition to being a filmmaker, he's like an actual very well established nautical explorer. He's been down in subs. He's done a lot. For some reason, somewhere the rumor came up that he was making a documentary about that sub disaster. He responded and was just like, I am not making that movie, and I will never be making that movie. I have zero intention of doing that. So that was just the rumor mill. Yeah.
Yep.
He's got better things to do.
Well, he has more lucrative things to do. Yeah.
Like make us 5 more avatars. And finally, the Game of Thrones studio tour in Northern Ireland shows off sets, costumes, all sorts of stuff from the production. Apparently it's struggling financially and changing owners.
Yeah, this basically Game of Thrones museum in Northern Ireland, where they like at a studio where they filmed some of the show, opened during the pandemic. They blame it on the pandemic and how people couldn't really visit. Pandemic, low interest, who knows? But it's changing owners. It'll still go forward, but the short version is this Game of Thrones museum in Northern Ireland isn't getting as much traffic as they thought it would. So go there if you're interested. The Game of Thrones studio tour in Northern Ireland, see props, sets, and all that stuff. Woo, okay, I could not keep pace with the buzzer this week, but I had fun. Daniel, thank you for having a good time with me here on Take the Black. You know what? We'll have a good time next week.
Always.
In fact, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. No, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Mountain, and noon on the West Coast, 3 a.m. in Australia. We'll talk more about, sci-fi, fantasy, movies, TV, all that good stuff. We'll wait this gavel around some. We're also available on and that's on the Winners Coming YouTube and Facebook accounts. We're also on TikTok. Follow us there. Follow us everywhere. Like us everywhere. Leave comments everywhere. We'd love it. We'd appreciate it. It's the best. We're also available to download wherever podcasts are available. Feel free to leave a comment or a like or subscribe there as well, just because, it'd be nice. And until next time, all is not as it seems. Goodbye, everybody.